1 in 3 is intended for mature audiences. Episodes contain explicit content and may be triggering as they often include violence and other varying forms of abuse such as emotional, psychological, sexual, and physical. In most cases, names have been changed to protect all involved. Please note, statements and opinions of guests do not necessarily reflect those of my own. Hi warriors, welcome to 1 in 3. I'm your host Ingrid. If you remember back in my first episode, I detailed a lot of the terminology involved with domestic violence. One of those terms was stalking. This is definitely an under-recognized form of domestic violence. Similar to other violent situations, the behavior typically escalates. And that is the case in the story of Clare Bernal. According to the Domestic Violence Crisis Center, domestic violence victims who experience both physical abuse and stalking behaviors have a higher risk for homicide. 76% of all domestic violence homicide victims had also been stalked in the year before their murder. Clare Bernal was originally from Tunbridge Wells, Kent, United Kingdom. In her youth, Clare was always fascinated with makeup and fashion. While in Kent, she took courses focusing on beauty consulting and theater makeup. Barely in her 20s, she moved to Dulwich, London, and secured a job with the luxury department store Harvey Nichols. Naturally, she settled into her position as a skincare expert. She was a beautiful young woman living a good life in downtown London with her two flatmates. Michael Pech was a 30-year-old man who had also recently moved to London. Holding a dual citizenship in Czech and Slovakia, Michael was a former Slovakian soldier. After working at the American Embassy in Bratislava, he acquired a student visa and moved to London in 2003. He found a position in security for Harvey Nichols in 2004. He asked Clare out for their first date in January 2005. Now, Michael was married, but going through a divorce. His wife remained in Slovakia. Initially, Clare appreciated Michael's attention, but he lavished it on a bit too much and very early in the relationship. The two had only gone on 3 dates over the course of 3 weeks. In that short time span, Michael had already become very jealous and controlling. He asked Clare to spend all her free time with him, foregoing plans with friends. He even suggested she not go visit family. While Clare viewed the short relationship as carefree and casual, Michael wasted no time professing his love for her. All of it made Clare very uncomfortable and left her feeling suffocated. Following a trip to Slovakia in February, Michael returned to London and had Clare meet him at the airport. She brought him back to her flat with the intention of sending him to complete his journey home alone. But Michael refused to leave. He insisted he needed to stay the night so he wouldn't have to drag his luggage across London. He finally agreed to go to the train station only because Clare said she would walk him there. But once the two arrived, Michael refused to get on the train. This stunt, along with the rest of Michael's actions leading up to it, was enough for Clare. She officially ended the relationship. Clare turned and walked back to her flat with Michael following steps behind. She ran in and left him standing outside. And that's where he remained for the next 2 hours while he continued to call and text her. One of Clare's flatmates went outside and attempted to convince Michael to go home. At that point, Michael began verbally assaulting and shouting at her. Eventually, Michael did leave, only to return the following day with flowers. Clare did not speak to him, nor did she accept the flowers. The gift was left outside for a week. While at work, Michael would be seen staring at Clare. He used the mirrors to watch her movements. Michael would approach Clare at her counter to ask her to take him back. He loved her, and he knew she loved him too. Michael involved their coworkers, asking them to talk to Clare on his behalf. She pleaded with him to stop. She told him that she in fact did not love him, to which he replied, "Yes, you do, you stupid little girl." All of this went along with upward of 50 text messages each day. Those messages started with, "We were meant to be together," then evolved to, "I will kill myself," and progressed to, "If I can't have you, no one will." Michael followed Clare to and from work. He would take the same train as her. Clare was scared. She couldn't sleep and began to dread work. She was chronically late and distracted. She was embarrassed over the ordeal and felt she could not report it to the police as Michael had not physically assaulted her. On March 30th, while on her way home, Clare noticed Michael waiting for her on the train platform. She ran and jumped on the train in an attempt to escape him, but Michael was able to get on the same carriage. At the train stop, Clare jumped off and ran. Michael easily caught up to her and knocked her down. Now, Clare threatened to report him to the police if he didn't leave her alone. Michael countered by saying he would kill her if she did. As the next train arrived, Clare quickly jumped onto it. Michael pounded on the windows as it pulled away. These events prompted Clare to finally report Michael's actions to the head of security at Harvey Nichols. Review of the security tapes quickly confirmed Clare's accusations. Michael was moved to a different floor in the department store. It didn't stop his abuse, though. Harvey Nichols suspended him and encouraged Clare to report his behavior to the police. She did. During the Harvey Nichols investigation, it was discovered that Michael had asked a colleague what the maximum sentence for murder was in the United Kingdom. He was immediately fired and arrested. Because Michael had a previously clean record, he was released on bail with a condition he would not attempt to contact Clare. Soon, he was found standing outside her flat again. Clare was forced to move. She changed her phone number. But Michael was resourceful. He was discovered outside her new home. He was once again arrested and charged, this time with threatening to kill. "You don't want to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway." He was released on bail again. Quick interjection here. Bail in the United Kingdom is not like the United States. There is no monetary charge. They are simply released depending on the offense and the previous record. There are certain terms that may be set, and the accused is required to return to court when told. In the United States, a person may be released on bail, which involves either payment of a set amount or using a promissory note. The specifics of bail vary from state to state. So what did Michael do while out on bail? For the second time. In June, he went to Slovakia and spent a significant amount of time at a firing range. He took a gun training class and passed exams to eventually be granted a license. He purchased a handgun and registered it in Slovakia. Once everything was in order, Michael returned to London via ferry and coach. Security never searched and was never alerted to Michael's carefully concealed weapon. And Clare was never notified Michael was out on bail. Returning to court 6 weeks after his last appearance on August 31st, Michael pleaded guilty to harassment. The charges related to threatening to kill were dropped. Following his plea hearing, Michael was, once again, you guessed it, released on bail while preparations began for his sentencing hearing. Learning of the latest details, Clare felt relieved. She told her mother, Patricia, "Thank God it's over. Now, finally, people will believe me, and I can get on with my life." Just 2 weeks later, on September 13th, 2005, Clare and her colleague were nearing the end of their shifts. It was 7:50 p.m., and the store closed at 8. The two were tidying their counter as there were only a few people left in the area. Clare's colleague noticed a shadow moving out of the corner of her eye. As she focused on the man standing behind Clare, Michael held up a gun and shot her in the back of the head. Clare fell to the ground, where he shot her 3 more times in the face. He then turned the gun on himself. With Patricia Bernal and others campaigning, a new law was passed in 2012 outlawing stalking and making it a standalone offense. Prime Minister David Cameron, who signed the law, was quoted saying, "Stalking is an abhorrent crime. It makes life a living hell for victims, breaking up relationships, forcing the victims to move house, making them feel they are being watched 24 hours a day. This is why we are explicitly criminalizing stalking, to make sure that justice is done, protect the victims, and show beyond doubt that stalking is a crime." Thank you for listening. I will be back with another story for you. Until then, stay strong, and wherever you are in your journey, always remember you are not alone. Find more information, register as a guest, or leave a review by going to the website 1in3podcast.com. That's the number 1, IN, the number 3, podcast.com. Follow 1 in 3 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 1 in 3 Podcast. To help me out, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. 1 in 3 is a .5 Pinoy production. Music written and performed by Tim Crow.